Well, welcome to the third and final session of auditing here at IAU. Before we discuss the material for Lesson 1, I would like to direct your attention to the syllabus at this time. Note that your grade is based solely on 8 tests with a total value of 1,100 points. The questions for discussion are not assigned any points, but we will discuss them in class, unlike the last 8-week session where you were awarded points for doing those as homework. I expect you to write an outline typed answer to each set of discussion questions and bring it to class for discussion. Then we can compare notes and look into some of the more profound aspects of the subject. The first test must be completed then by Sunday midnight following the first class meeting, which takes place on Monday. Late tests will be given only upon submission of a doctor's excuse. My class load is very heavy this term, 7 classes, and I cannot spend time asking you to do the work you are required to complete for this term and that have agreed to do so. As you know, you can miss no more than 3 classes of the 8. When I'm asked to be excused, I always answer that it's okay with me, but that does not mean it's okay with the school. The absence will be recorded anyway. I do not give you time off without consequences. I merely say, yes, it's agreeable. I understand you have busy things in your life. If you wish a medical absence, you must arrange that with the school. You cannot do it with me. I don't have that power. I'm being polite when I excuse you, meaning I understand, but you are still required to attend class all 8 sessions. And sometimes you can skate really close to that edge and make it, and sometimes you fall off. So I point that out. In the event that I'm unable to attend the first session, it looks like now I will be able to, but if I miss a session due to illness, have Anise mark your attendance on the roll sheet. You'll find him at the front desk. I am recording this video to give you the information that I think is important in each of the chapters that we'll be covering. The material for Chapter 1 is covered, or for Lesson 1 rather, is covered in Chapters 1, 2, and 3 of the textbook. The first chapter is entitled The Independent Auditor's Report. It consists of a single page with a generic audit report for a non-public entity, a non-publicly traded corporation, which is a non-public entity. Note that it consists of 5 paragraphs covering 5 topics. The first is addressed to the Board of Directors and states that the 4 financial statements for the year just ended were carefully audited. Thank you, Board of Directors. The second paragraph lists the responsibilities of management, which are to produce accurate and complete financial statements, all 4 of them. That's what we just looked at in paragraph 1 as auditors. In paragraph 3, it states that the auditor's responsibilities include rendering an opinion after completing all the required testing and inspection of the above financial statements, and that they are reasonably assured of being free from material omissions and misstatements. Note the use of the phrase reasonably assured. The 4th paragraph gives an overview of the auditing process, what it does and does not cover, and it is the longest part of the report. And finally, the 5th paragraph gives the actual opinion. Note how carefully worded the opinion is. Read it, try to commit it to memory. It's fairly simple. Page 4 of the text gives a list of items that are included in the report, in the auditor's report, that is slightly different from the one I just presented. It contains 6 items and is a lot more compact. Note the references also that are written in Korean script. I have rewritten that list just to make it more readily studyable, but that is the official list of 6 items that the report contains. The missing item, of course, is the who the report is addressed to and who it comes from. Chapter 3 then begins, or chapter 2, sorry, we get ahead of ourselves. Chapter 2 covers the modified auditor's report. The first one was what we call unmodified. We give an unqualified opinion. There was nothing to report, no boogeyman in the closet. Everything is fine. Now we look at the modified report. It is presented in a very compact and outlined form here. Note there are two types of modifications, those that are required and those that are not required. Kind of obvious, but let's take a look. It is up to the audit team leader whether or not to include a statement about matters that are not required to be included. Of course, if they are required, nobody has to make a decision. It's simply required. Also, take note of the issues that call for qualification or a qualified opinion, or even an adverse opinion. Substantial doubt about going concern is one. That means the company might be bankrupt a month from now. They're not doing very well financially. Auditors are not required to take note of this, but if it's brought to their attention, they will sometimes report them. Depends on the circumstances. Again, it's not absolutely required. And what other concerns? Departures from generally accepted accounting procedures. And of course, these always require modification of some sort or another. That is usually in the form of a paragraph, which we'll discuss in a moment. These and other concerns are then reported in that paragraph, and it's called an emphasis of matter paragraph. Additional problems that require a modified report are listed on page 10. So that brings us up to page 10 of the text. And now we turn to chapter 3, which covers reporting on entities' internal control over financial reporting. Note that earlier we discussed issues like material departures from generally accepted procedures, concerned about the going concern issue. But now we turn to the issue of internal control. And typically, this is not a part of the auditor's report. However, under certain circumstances, it may well become so. Most likely in the case or in the event that the client has asked the auditor to perform an evaluation of internal controls. Even then, this evaluation will generally not be made available to the public. It's for internal consumption. But there may be other circumstances that require us to report the entity's internal controls over financial reporting. We'll cover this from page 11 to 16 in a brief statement each, and then in class we'll take a look at these in some depth. Page 11 gives a background summary of evaluating internal controls. Why do we do it? What's involved? Who's responsible? Mostly management, not the auditor. Excuse me. This evaluation is not normally part of the formal audit, but it can be requested by the client, and often is. Page 12 lists conditions to be met before an evaluation of internal controls can be performed. It's not something we just up and do, and in addition to which, it is time-consuming and therefore costly, and you don't want to spend money unless you find that it is necessary to do so. Page 13 lists the procedures used in generating the opinion, and we've talked about these in earlier chapters, but here we'll review them, and they should be familiar to some extent. Page 14 covers differences in scope, purpose, and reporting between the financial audit and the evaluation of internal controls. These are two different types of reports done for different purposes, often for different people. And we then contrast them in a nice table form, which is handy. And last of all, page 16, we look at modifications due to material discrepancies. The auditor may withdraw from the engagement or issue a disclaimer under several circumstances discussed on this page. So if there are material discrepancies between what should have been reported or the auditor feels should have been reported and what was actually reported to the audit team, that would require either a qualified opinion, an adverse opinion, or most likely in the case of a material discrepancy, a disengagement with a disclaimer. We're issuing this, but we're not taking responsibility for the accuracy of the items listed because we don't trust the management anymore. It's usually stated in much more formal terms, and basically the audit team is saying, get out of here, we don't like you guys. You don't tell the truth. These, of course, become very serious issues, and you would think it would be rare that management would risk such a thing. But it turns out, no, management is not always bright, not always clever, not always well-informed, and sometimes ego rises above intelligence, and they do really stupid things. And I hope you find this entertaining from time to time as we bring up case studies and issues where this has happened. Okay, I will see you in class Monday night. Looking forward to it very greatly. Bye-bye.